power has been a very hot topic recently. Looking back at the history of Vietnam's nuclear power program, the idea of developing nuclear power emerged as early as the 1970s. However, it wasn't until the period of 1996 to 2009 that this energy source was seriously studied. The goal was to ensure national energy security in the context of economic growth and high electricity demand. We know that as the economy develops, production expands, and electricity demand increases accordingly. In 2008, when drafting the nuclear power project, the government forecasted an economic growth rate of 9 to 10%. Consequently, electricity demand was projected to grow annually by about 17 to 20%. This is a very large demand. With this demand, in addition to existing thermal power, hydropower, and imported electricity, a new energy source is needed to ensure stability and competitive pricing, and that is nuclear power. Currently, in the power source structure as of the end of 2023, coal power accounts for over 33%, hydropower 28%, renewable energy such as solar and wind about 27%, and other sources. Where will Vietnam's nuclear power plant be located? Previously, the policy to invest in the nuclear power project was proposed in one area. That is Ninh Thuan, and submitted to the National Assembly at the end of 2009. With plans to build two plants, Ninh Thuan 1 and Ninh Thuan 2 in Thuan Nam and Ninh Hai districts. With a total capacity of 4,000 megawatts and an initial total investment estimated at 200 trillion Vietnamese đồng. The study of the nuclear power plant location was considered very important and conducted thoroughly by all parties. From several initial surveyed locations, two sites in Ninh Thuan were selected as the locations to build Vietnam's two nuclear power plants. These are locations that, after research, were assessed as having potential, being safe, and with few alternative options. So why was Ninh Thuan chosen? Ninh Thuan is a coastal province located at the southernmost part of the south-central coast. The capital of Ninh Thuan province is Phan Rang, Hat Trong City. Ninh Thuan borders Con Hoa to the north, Ninh Thuan to the south, Lan Dong to the west, and the East Sea to the east. This province is 340 kilometers from Ho Chi Minh City, 642 kilometers from Da Nang, and 1,380 kilometers from the capital Hanoi. Ninh Thuan is a historical land. In the 17th century, the territory of present-day Ninh was still under the rule of the Cham kings, and this land was called Panduranga. That is some basic information about Ninh Thuan province. Ninh Thuan was chosen to host the nuclear power plant because it meets all necessary factors. First is the natural factor. Natural factors include geography, seismology, climate, and hydraulic, along with factors of human-induced risks, such as large industrial facilities or flight paths. Ninh Thuan meets all these factors. The reason for carefully considering such factors is that nuclear power plants, especially the reactor area, need to have very high durability and not be sensitive to changes in operational parameters. Therefore, the plant needs to be built on a solid foundation, unaffected by earthquakes and incidents from other industrial facilities, as well as other sensitive factors. Considering all criteria, Ninh Thuan meets this requirement. Some people confuse it with Da Lat. Then Da Lat has a nuclear research as not a nuclear power plant. The Da Lat reactor is the first nuclear reactor in Southeast Asia, and was built by the Americans in 1961 and completed in late 1962 by the famous architect Ngo Dinh Thu and his assistants who designed the project. After operating for several years until 1968, the Americans stopped operating the reactor. The Da Lat nuclear reactor is the first reactor in the Southeast Asian region, but at that time, not many people knew about this information, because it was part of an atomic program for peaceful purposes. Moreover, it was a secret support activity by the US for the Saigon government during the Cold War period, so it was not widely publicized. When our country was unified with the help of the Soviet Union, the technical design, restoration, and capacity of the Da Lat nuclear reactor were carried out. By 1984, the reactor was put into operation, with a nominal capacity of 500 kilowatts, twice that of the previous reactor. Over the past 40 years, the reactor has operated nearly 70,000 hours, at such nominal capacity to serve scientific research, sample analysis, production of radioactive isotopes for medicine, industry, and human research. Those are the objectives of the Dalhat nuclear reactor. And there is absolutely no electricity generation here. Returning to the chaotic stories of the nuclear power project in Ninh Thuan. At this time, Vietnam also had preparations in terms of human resources. Nearly 100 people were sent to study for master's and doctoral degrees abroad, through scholarships, going to countries like Russia, Japan, South Korea, Europe, and the US, countries with nuclear power. In addition to this group, there were about 450 engineering students studying under the program of the Ministry of Education and UDN in nuclear power, advanced training key personnel in nuclear power plant technology. And regarding technology, the project Vietnam implemented very strict safety requirements because that was the time when the Fukushima plant in Japan had an incident that caused worldwide concern. While everyone knows that Japan is a very advanced country and has developed nuclear power for many years, among these, the severe accident part needs to be considered an example in the design of the nuclear reactor in Ninh Thuan. So to what extent had the project been implemented in the past? Here we have two plants including Ninh Thuan 1 plant and Ninh Thuan 2 plant. Regarding the Ninh Thuan 1 nuclear power plant, in May 2010, Russia was selected as the technology provider partner for this plant, with a long-term commitment to support Vietnam in nuclear waste management and treatment, and to build a national program on this issue. At that time, Russia quoted a price of nearly $8 billion for the plant with a capacity of 2,000 MW, and agreed to provide Vietnam with export credit to implement the project. Next is the Ninh Thuan 2 nuclear power plant. Japan sent a geological survey ship to Vietnam to survey the sea area serving the project to build this plant. Experts from the Japanese Atomic Power Company presented the technology and safety characteristics of Japan's advanced generation reactors with earthquake and tsunami resistance capabilities, after the experiences they gained at Fukushima. According to initial estimates, reactor number 1 was scheduled to begin operation in 2021, reactor number 2 in 2022, reactor number 3 in 2024, and reactor number 4 in 2025. However, things did not go as planned. After 7 years of preparation, in November 2016, the National Assembly decided to halt the Ninh Thuan nuclear. Explaining this suspension, the government stated it was not due to safety technology issues, but because Vietnam's macroeconomic conditions had changed significantly compared to the time of the investment decision. At that time, Vietnam needed large capital to invest in infrastructure and key projects to drive socio-economic development, which took priority over nuclear power. Before the decision to halt was made, there were 7 component projects invested by Vietnam Electricity Group and the Ninh Thuan Provincial People's Committee with capital exceeding 2,003. Among these, feasibility study reports, power supply systems, and construction infrastructure, survey design, population resettlement, compensation, site clearance, construction of auxiliary works, all have been implemented. Let's talk about the advantages of nuclear power compared to other energy sources. Imagine, with just 1 kilogram of uranium, a tiny material can generate energy equivalent to millions of tons of coal. Picture this, transporting that amount of coal would require a huge convoy truck, while uranium can fit neatly in a carry-on suitcase. This is precisely why nuclear power is favored by developed countries when they want to save resources and reduce dependence on fossil fuels. What are fossil fuels? They are oil and coal. As for hydropower, not every place has rivers to build on. Nuclear power plants can operate continuously day and night without worrying about cloudy weather, no sun or calm winds preventing turbine rotation. This is a superior strength of nuclear power compared to solar and wind power. These two renewable energy sources may sound green, but are completely dependent on weather, and wind power is relatively stable. In places with unpredictable weather, nuclear power helps keep the energy system stable. Environmentally, nuclear power is extremely friendly. During production, it almost emits no CO2, significantly reducing the greenhouse effect. This is one of the reasons the Earth is warming daily and is of concern to countries. Of course, nuclear power also has weaknesses. Nuclear waste is something that startles everyone due to its danger and decomposition time spanning thousands of years. But today's technology has advanced, with many new generation reactors designed to recycle fuel, minimizing waste to the lowest level. Moreover, modern safety systems reduce the risk of accidents to almost zero.
Only almost zero, as nothing is absolute. But it will certainly be safer compared to incidents at Chernobyl or Fukushima.
Thus, nuclear power is not without drawbacks. But with its massive, stable energy production capacity and minimal environmental, it remains the ace in the hole in the fight against climate change, and addressing humanity's ever-increasing energy demands. If managed well, it is not only the future but also the solution to the biggest energy challenges that Vietnam and the world are facing.
Thank you for following this story.
If you found it interesting, you can click the subscribe button for the Hidden Ledger channel.
For now, we bid farewell. If you have opinions, please leave feedback and comment below.